Oh, oh God. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Gabesty here. This is the heroic tank guide for Immerseus, first boss in Siege of Orgrimmar. As always, you can click on the annotations there to check out the full raid guide. But overall, this video should give tank players the basics for this encounter to get through it successfully. So the most important thing for a tank to get right on this fight is management of Corrosive Blast, and therefore the relative position between you as the tank and the rest of the raid during certain segments of the encounter. So as you can see here, I'm going to assume that your basic raid positions somewhat match those of our raid. That is, the tank is off to one side while you're on the boss, and the rest of the raid is kind of in a quadrant to one side or the other of that tank. This basically allows the tank that's on the boss to always be in a safe position such that Corrosive Blast, which is a cone attack, will only hit that tank because they are one quadrant over from anyone else in the raid. Now, once Corrosive Blast hits you, you have at minimum about 25 seconds before the next cast. So this is when your tank partner can pick up Immerseus. But more importantly, once Corrosive Blast hits, that's a guarantee time of about 25 seconds or more before you have to be back in your safe position, one quadrant over. And this is important because of the adds that will spawn in the fight. So let's talk about those now. So on Heroic, Swelling Corruption is a buff gained by Immerseus about 13 seconds into the normal phase. This buff basically has a number of stacks equal to half of the corruption or energy that Immerseus has at the time. So in the very beginning, when he first gains this and he has 100 energy, he'll gain 50 stacks. Every time a player makes a single target attack against Immerseus, he'll lose a stack, and that player will gain a stack of Sha Corruption, which is a stacking dot. As a tank, you will get stacks of this as well, so be careful about the damage and the number of stacks you get to. That said, more importantly for a tank, each time a stack is removed, a Sha add will spawn, a congealed Sha. And these appear about melee range of the boss, but in random locations around him. So, as you can see, there's tons of these adds. Again, the first round, you'll get 50 of them. So this is the other important thing for tanks to manage. And this is, again, why positioning is so vital. So the way that we handled this, that our tanks handled this, seemed to work really well. Again, with the raid in one quadrant roughly, and the tank one quadrant over from that, that is the tank that's on the boss at the time. Once the Swelling Corruption has gone out, the tank that's on Immerseus waits for that Corrosive Blast to hit. Once that is hit, that tank is then free for those next 25 seconds before the next blast to move over in front of the rest of the raid and basically stay there in position to gather all the congealed Sha spawns that are coming in, because they all spawn in melee range and the rest of the raid is kind of in that quadrant behind them somewhere. So both the tanks are in front of the raid, basically in the same quadrant, gathering all the congealed Sha, and the raid is DPSing all these adds down, just AEing like crazy to kill them off. The goal, essentially, is to kill these adds during the swirl phase or shortly after that swirl phase. They should mostly be dead by the time that next Corrosive Blast could potentially hit the tank. And so, of course, as a tank, if you're on Immerseus at the time, you need to move back into your safe quadrant that's over one from the raid before that next cast happens. So here you can see this occurring again. Our tank was on the left. He got Corrosive Blasted, and now he knows it's safe to move in position in front of the raid. So we're gathering all the adds up in front of everyone and killing them off very efficiently. And now they're dead, swirl is over, and our tank once again moves back to his position to the left. And that's it, really. This pattern is the key to tanking this fight. So if you and your tank partner get in the habit of swapping the boss for blasts, and otherwise knowing that once your Corrosive Blast goes off, you have that 25-second window before you need to be in position again, you can freely move about and gather up adds and help kill them with the raid and all that good stuff. The final thing for tanks to manage is during the submerge phase, and this is the other new heroic ability. So if you look in the center of the room, you can see a massive pool, which is called Sha Pool. And this effectively will grow in size over time, or when one of the oozes, the puddle oozes, reaches that pool. As a tank, your job is usually going to be to soak this pool up and keep its size low. Because the smaller the size of the pool, the more time the raid will have to deal with the puddle oozes that spawn. Basically, the edge of the Sha Pool dictates when those puddles will explode and be absorbed by Immerseus. So the best way we found to deal with it was to have one or both of our tanks, depending on which one had the corrosive blast stacks, to just stand on the edge of the pool. And by doing that, you would gain a stacking dot, but you'll keep the size of the Sha Pool small for the rest of the raid. So that's it. It's pretty easy to deal with. Just make sure you watch your stacks. You don't get too high. You can alternate with your tank partner to soak that if needed. So, believe it or not, that is it for the tank guide for Heroic Immerseus. That should get you through everything you need to know. As always, good luck. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed, please subscribe.